Story yesterday, and survivor of mother and baby home slams failings of Tuam scandal probe. I suppose 3-year investigation, which was chaired by Judge Yvonne Murphy, was tasked with hearing evidence from thousands of survivors about their experiences at 14 homes. Many women have only been given the option of an informal confidential hearing rather than formal sworn testimony, and the Mother and Baby Home Survivors Group, Irish First Mothers, are giving serious consideration to a legal action in the High Court to seek a judicial review of the work of the Commission. Joining me on the line is Rosemary Adie, and Rosemary, whose daughter was taken from her arms shortly after she gave birth at the age of 18, is among 7 women who have signed affidavits seen by the newspaper, the Sunday Mirror. You're very welcome to the show, Rosemary. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
A tough job to have to keep reliving the horrific experiences of that young 18-year-old girl that you were. Nonetheless, you're of the view that the story has to be told. Where are we now following the results of the Commission of Inquiry?
Well, I went to the Commission of Inquiry in June of this year, and I asked to go in front of the judge, Judge Murphy, and was told that did I really feel that I needed to, and I said, yeah, I do. And then I didn't hear anything. They said they would contact me in a couple of weeks to make sure I was okay after giving my testimony, which they never did. And so then I actually wrote to Yvonne Murphy myself, and I got a letter back from the confidential committee saying that Yvonne Murphy had seen my testimony and didn't feel the need to meet me, and that some of my story would be in the report, in the final report in February of 2019. So I was just left feeling very kind of disappointed, because I just feel that my story, it's not just my story, it's all our stories, all the survivors of mother and baby homes. It's not, I'm just not doing this for myself. This is for Irish First Mothers, and of course Kathy McMahon, who passed away. I just feel that we've been railroaded, that we can't get to see her, we just can't get near her.
And I suppose there are many women who haven't been given the option of formal sworn testimony as such. It's all directed towards informal, confidential hearings. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm not really sure how I feel, because it's very frustrating, because the thing about it is they are all in the one office in Leeson Street in Dublin, and I wrote to Yvonne Murphy, and I put care, to make sure that care off Yvonne Murphy to make sure that she'd receive it. But I personally feel that she didn't receive it. And the letter that I got back was just basically from the confidential committee saying no, that she doesn't need to see you. And I remember Kathy McMahon telling me when we were in Dublin at the seminar that Catherine Sapone hosted, and she said that Yvonne Murphy leaned across the table to her and said, this is where they need to be, but we just can't seem to get there. And the final report's due out now in February after another year's delay, and I just don't know why we can't get to see her.
And the Commission of Inquiry was set up, I believe, Rosemary, at a cost of 23 million after the bodies of 798 babies were found in a septic tank behind the Galway home, which was run by the Bon Secours nuns. What was your understanding of the remit of the Commission?
Well, I thought that the Commission was there to help us to give testimony and to, look after us, care for us. We didn't have to be in that situation. And I don't really know.
No, you're okay. But I suppose what I'm really getting to is the fact that you had a perspective of what the Commission was going to do, bearing in mind what the past, shall we say, that you had experienced, and it doesn't seem to have been doing what you expected it to do for you. So much so that after a 3-year investigation, you're now, you and a number of other young women at the time who went through all of this are considering the idea of legal action in the High Court to seek a judicial review of the Commission's work. I mean, that's a big thing for you to have to do, particularly with the resources.
You're reliving it all the time, and like, we just want to heal. We want our stories told because we need people to understand. They've set up this commission, and people like that haven't had any of this experience think, oh well, they're grand. They've got a commission now for investigation, and they'll sort that out, so they'll be okay. But that's not the case at all. We're not okay. We're reliving this every day, and the more stories that comes up about mother and baby homes and commissions, and it's just not. We're not being heard. And we asked for, and I mean, I was there when excuse me, Cathy McMahon said to Minister Sabone, are you going to meet Irish First Mothers? And she said, oh yes, you're definitely in the diary. And when Cathy rang the minister's office, the girl and the secretary or whatever had a clue what she was talking about. So we were never penciled in to meet her.
And would that have made a massive difference to you as such?
I think it would, because, she stood up in the pulpit and says, I feel your pain. I see your faces and I feel your pain. Well, no, she doesn't. She doesn't feel my pain or any of the other ladies that have gone through this. My pain is very real. It's there every day. And, and you're just waiting for this commission to get their final report out, and they're going to tell me how I feel.
And do you feel with this report, I know, being honest, your perspective on it is not at all positive, but was it in your mind at one point, you and the likes of Cathy McMahon, Lord of Mercy, or may she rest in peace, did all of you feel that this was going to be, I suppose, the result that you wanted, acknowledgement for what you'd been through, knowledge for the rest of the public as to what went on, closure, for want of a better way of putting it? Closure
is exactly what we want. We want closure to get on with our lives and try and live as best we can with the hurt that has been done.
And it doesn't sound like an awful lot to ask, but looking at the Commission's cost of 23 million, for a person like yourself to be still feeling this way, it would appear to be quite a waste of taxpayers' money.
I think so, yeah. I think so.
And do you wonder, is there a situation where it's been information collecting rather than solution orientated, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I think it's historical. It's for the archives, and people in the future can look up and say, oh, there's that Rosemary Adie who spent the last 3 years shouting from the rooftops and nobody listened. But by that stage, I'll be long gone, I'd say.
And I mean, I know we can't say too much about the future for the organisation, the members, the people behind the organisation, Irish First Mothers, but to be considering legal action in the High Court to seek a judicial review of the Commission's work, I mean, that must take a lot of, I suppose, energy and disappointment at the same time to be feeling that strongly about how you perceive the Commission and the lack of result for yourselves, despite the fact that the report isn't even out yet.
Yeah, we just feel that we're just going to be left behind. That the report will come out and she'll probably look for another extension, and another year, another 2 years, and it'll go on and on. And as you say, all them millions being spent.
And I mean, Rosemary, final question, because I know it's just not the easiest morning for you after the events of the weekend. But
no, it's not. I don't feel that I'm at my best at all.
I totally understand, and I can sense from your voice that you're just deflated and disappointed. But on a final note, before you have that tea or a coffee, which I'm recommending after this, if you could wave a wand, and indeed if Kathy had some magical powers where she is now in the next life, what do you think would have been the right solution for all these ladies who find themselves reliving traumatic experiences of their youth when it comes to what should have been a joyous experience of having a child?
Yeah, well, I just think that the fact that the delay after delay after delay, committee and committee and committee, there's so many committees, and there's just nothing really being done. There's no counselling, there's no support group, there's no support network, there's no nothing. And I've just been left here. I mean, if I was speaking personally about myself, I'm not. I'm speaking for all of us
Yeah.
Irish birth mothers
Yeah.
and all the survivors of mother and baby homes. It's very difficult for me personally, just to have to relive this all the time, just to be heard. So if Yvonne Murphy would write to me and say, okay, I'll listen to your testimony. And I think my testimony is very important, because the fact that it's the neglect that I have in the hospital during labour, and a week later almost lost my life because of their neglect. So there's people who have to be answered. Have to answer to these.
Yeah. And all you want is closure and to put it behind you, but at the same time the system seems to be all about bureaucracy and paperwork and nothing to show for it as far as you're concerned.
Nothing to show for it. And me myself, I'm just an ordinary Joe Soap, and I don't understand all the bureaucracy, and it just seems to be one tactic after another. And we're all pretty tired, and the loss of Kathy was horrendous. And I mean, I'm no Kathy McMahon, believe you me, but I'll do my best.
I know you are.
Do my very best to try and put this to bed, so us ladies can, breathe.
Well, I remember... sorry, go ahead, Rosemary, go ahead.
No, even yesterday, I had to go to the supermarket. And I had to get somebody to come with me, just in case I met somebody that said, "Oh, seen you in the paper" or whatever. But it was fine. I went down. Nobody actually has said anything. But it still had that. You still have that nervousness.
I know. Yeah, and it's not what you're about. You're not a media specialist. You're not a person who wants to be recognised and your story splattered across the papers. And yet, all of this is about justice, so to speak, and the system that is supposed to advocate justice is letting you down in your own view at the moment, and it's having a very negative effect on how you're feeling about recovery and that of the other ladies as well. Well, I have to tell you, whatever you may feel about yourself and your media abilities, you've done fantastic work in creating awareness, certainly on this show, and I thank you for having the patience to come on this morning. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and all I can say is don't give up.
No, I won't give up. I'm sure
we'll talk again, and your spirits will be better. Take care and have a good day. All the best.
Thank you, Angela.
Bye-bye. So, forget about the commissions of inquiry, forget about the bureaucracy. Let's just look at the human trail behind the scandals that took place in our, I suppose, in the hands of organisations run by the state and at times the church, sad to say. The human cost is still being paid by people who are trying to get their voice heard, and there's a lot of money going on this. You heard the figure, 23 million paid on a commission of inquiry, and that's the voice of somebody who participated in that inquiry who feels very let down, and that's before the report is even published.